G'day, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Encounters Down Under Live. Great for having you here. Great for joining me. Well, thanks for joining me. It's absolutely awesome. Back into this stuff, doing this again there, and it's absolutely a great time doing this stuff with you guys here. So, guys, don't forget to like and share this episode out there or wherever you want to share it to, your friends, family, whatever. If you have had an experience there, get in touch with me. I'd love to have you on the show there, talk about your experience there. So be sure to get in touch with me via the Facebook page or email at australianufosighting's@outlook.com.au. Yeah, guys, by all means, help share this podcast out there wherever you can. Absolutely love the support there. Also, don't forget, we do have a Black Friday sales on this weekend here, 35% off all our merch there, which includes free shipping, and you get a free little bumper sticker as well. So get in there now before tonight. I think in the comment there it says 30th of December, which is, no, it's 30th November. Bit of a typo there. So tonight is your last chance there to get that awesome deal. Otherwise, yeah, it'd be a great gift there for your friends, your family, or a sneaky little cheeky gift for yourself. So, well, guys, quickly get on that before time runs out. But again, look, thanks for joining me. It's great to have you here. And don't forget, you can join in the comments there with any questions or anything like that you want to ask to, throw in there and whatever's on your mind at the time. Anyway, let's get cracking into this. So I've got a really special guest tonight. There's Sheryl Gottschall from the UFO Research Queensland Corporation. Now, she's been doing a lot of research over the years there, basically everything UFO related there with reports and such. But let's get her on the potty here and potty, that sounds weird saying potty. On the podcast here, get her on the episode. So, g'day, Sheryl, how you going?
Hi, Anthony. Good, thank you. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
No, it's great having you on here. It's actually my pleasure. Now, you've been researching into UFOs. I think you said 37 years. That's a long time.
It is a long time. I'm suddenly feeling very old.
Oh, geez. It's you're not far from when I was born, a couple of years earlier than. But yeah, wow. Actually, no, only a year older. Yeah, a year older than when I was born. So it's quite a long time. Yeah. But look, let's find it. Not everyone knows who you are or where you've sort of come from. So let's backtrack to where it all started from you. What got you into researching into UFOs, and where did it all start for you, basically?
I've told this story a few times, so I hope I don't bore people. But when I've always been interested in the unusual things, and from about age 15, I could afford to buy my own magazines, and I used to buy the Australasian Post, which no longer exists, and well-known Australian author of all things strange, John Pinkney, used to often publish articles in there, and I just couldn't wait to buy it every week. And anyway, so from there, met my first husband, and his father turned out that he used to be a member of UFO Research Queensland back in the 60s. And because the organisation was established in 1956, so it's the second longest running UFO organisation in the world. And so he was involved way back then, and he went to see George Adamski at the Brisbane Town Hall. And he said there were so many people there. 2,000 people were there. There were so many people they couldn't fit them in the hall, and had to put speakers outside so people who were standing outside could hear what he was saying. So it was just a crazy time. So anyway, my father-in-law and mother-in-law were Italian immigrants, and so every week we'd have to have the family dinner, and of course we sat and talked about UFOs and thought about all the interesting things like who speaks for the world, and what would we do if ETs landed, and all those sorts of things, which really were only just really, it's not really in the general conversation, in the UFO conversation, even these days. You have people like Richard Dolan and Bryce Zabel, who wrote After Disclosure, and a couple of other people, but, people don't seem to be able to get past that conversation or to that conversation. And I guess maybe they don't know how to. It's a big ask. What are things going to look like after when UFOs land? Of course, we know they're already land. Anyway, so from there, then around I got involved in UFO Research Queensland in 88. And then in the early 90s, very early, 1991, I had a close encounter myself, and I had various UFO sightings. And I got on the committee, joined the committee in 88, and I've been there ever since, holding various positions. So that's it, basically, in a nutshell.
Yeah, wow. So basically, it's Australia's longest going UFO research committee. Is that right?
Longest and continuously running UFO organisation. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. That's amazing. So look, like, did you actually experience anything yourself there to sort of like really continue on with this?
Well, I did. I had, like I said, I had various sightings and close encounter myself, and that was when I woke up in the early hours of the morning and saw. It was still dark, and I saw three small beings standing next to the bed on my side, and they were silhouetted by the street light outside on the footpath, and so I couldn't really see their faces very clearly, but they were the typical, small greys, large inverted pear-shaped heads, and I was absolutely petrified, I have to say, I did a very strange thing. I seemed to spontaneously pull the sheet up over my head and started saying the Lord's Prayer in my mind. And I'm thinking, like later on, I don't even remember knowing it, because I did go to Sunday school when I was a kid. And I had no memory of that the next day until about lunchtime, and something triggered my memory, and it was like, whoa, the memory came flooding back. And so I started to think about what really happened there. And I told myself it was a hallucination for 15 years, but and I understand people who have close encounters who find it really difficult to start talking about it at all, because I didn't want to talk about it. I kept telling myself it was a hallucination, but then I sort of got used to sort of accepted the idea and started asking myself questions like, well, who's terrified and then immediately goes to sleep and then immediately wakes up? It just didn't make sense to me. So I think something happened there, but I don't know what. I haven't dug around with regressive hypnosis, because I don't think it's the greatest tool for memory recall. I've worked as a clinical hypnotherapist myself since 2020. I've just sort of lived with it, but I guess it's still one of the emotional drivers for me that keeps me going and wanting to know the answers, and, asking all those big questions like who are they and where are they from and why are they here, which we don't seem to be getting that much closer to.
No, we don't. So was that a recurring sort of experience? Or
No, this was a strange thing. I only had that one experience of a close encounter. I've had about 9 good UFO sightings. One of them was in daylight. Another one was corroborated by 8 other witnesses, and things like you can't explain it. And some of them were close, like within hundreds of meters. And then somewhere in the middle of all that, I was very ill and I had a near-death experience, and I had read the book Omega Project by Dr. Ken Ring, who was a near-death experiencer researcher, and he'd written a book called The Omega Project, which was UFOs, NDEs, and the Mind at Large. And, as things happen, synchronicity happens, I actually ended up hosting him here in Brisbane many, many years ago. And he was studying people who had close encounters and who'd had near-death experiences, and he found similarities to them, to their childhood histories and the types of changes they undergo. So that got me really intrigued as well. And I've sort of been on that path ever since, really. I had, in the early days when I was going out doing boots on the ground investigations, pre-Zoom and, and in those days you investigated everything, because in the late 80s, there weren't as many reports around as there have been since. And I'd ask witnesses, have you had any other strange experiences? And they'd go, well, it's not UFO related, but, it's just odd. And they'd tell me they'd had a near-death experience.
Yeah, right. So what was the outcome, did you find, when it comes to near death and actually having a close encounter of such?
Well, there's a lot of similarities. For example, people who report close encounters and NDEs, they often have, they can have nightmares, a lot of nightmares as children. They come from, traumatic sort of situations where, not so much traumatic, but very stressful childhoods, and that might be something. And as a child, you have these coping mechanisms, so you don't actually see it as stressful, but you actually, children seem to cope with things, and in a lot of ways. So sorry, I've just lost my train of thought for a minute. I'm looking at all these messages, one from you and one from me. I'll stop looking. It'll help. So they might have an absent parent, or they might have an alcoholic parent, or they might just be one parent who's died, and the other parent's got to go to work, so they're looking after their siblings, that sort of thing. So they're undergoing situations which are usually beyond their usual childhood experiences, and they have to evolve and mature early. So there's those types of things that are very common in people who report NDEs and close encounters. And the changes that they undergo because of these experiences too, they become more spiritually engaged and socially aware. They become, as adults, they become sort of very critical of society, their own society. They become the change artists in the world. They'll be the types of people who get on committees and they'll call up on talkback radio or something like that, and they'll voice their opinion. And so they're sort of like the influencers in a way of even just their small groups of people, but they become influencers of some type, or they become very concerned about the environment too. So, and there's a whole lot of other things that there's a tendency towards vegetarianism and veganism, and less concerned about what other people think, and more concerned about showing the better side of themselves to humanity. So it's a mixed bag, but it's also a robust collection of features that these two groups of people share. And that's really interesting because it means something happened, and these changes that people undergo, they are long-term. They're permanently changed, and that doesn't happen with hallucinations or that sort of thing. So yeah, it's interesting though.
Yeah, no, so that's going to lead me to the next question. Like, you mentioned hallucinations, so like, not to go and mention that say it's everyone, but would it be nearly safe to say that, like, imagination comes into it, like childhood imagination growing up would be what a lot of people are sort of claiming to experience? Like, is there a reality behind that, or is it just imagination?
Well, there is something to be said for people being more fantasy prone than others. But that's not necessarily means that they're making it up. It means that they sort of tap into the imaginal realm much more easily than mainstream society. And this is one of the things that Ken Ring discovered too, that, when these types of people are having a conversation, they might the eyes might glaze over while you're talking to them, and they zone out. And it's like, well, where do they zone out to, So they have that ability to do that, to switch off and just for their mind to go away somewhere. And it seems that those types of people who are more creative as well, that they are the ones who are more predisposed to having these types of experiences. And we discovered this because our organisation was on commercial radio in Brisbane, 4BC, for 17 years on a weekly show called The Paranormal Panel. Thanks to our Vice President and past President, Tino Pezzamenti, who did the trip every week. He was such a good guy for doing that. And I did it in the early days, but then they moved the station too far away from me. And I said to Tino, ask the people what else do they do in their spare time, because I'd found that they were more creative. They had creative pastimes. They'd write, they'd sing, they'd dance, they'd write poetry, they'd do pottery, they'd do welding, all sorts of things. One guy welded Japanese swords, or made Japanese swords, sorry. So he and the show compere, Walter Williams, started asking that on a regular basis. And these people who would ring in with their close encounters would say, oh, well, I did, some sort of creative outlet. And 95% of the time they found over a period of time, some years actually, that this was consistent. And when something like that is consistent in the population, it has meaning. It's important. It's significant. And, so the public was the proof in the pudding, basically.
Yeah, righto. So have you looked into people who, I'm going to say suffer? It's not really a suffering, but sort of have the effects of like ADHD or ADD or something like that sort of aspect? Like, would you, because like they're sort of like very creative sort of minds, they're very, I guess, like very broader in what they can achieve, I guess, to what a normal person would like. Yeah, they've got different sort of mindset to what normal people do, but do you find there's a difference there at all?
Well, I haven't identified that. My late husband had Asperger's, which is not too far away from ADHD and those types of things. Sometimes you can't recognise it either. It depends how far along the spectrum they are, because he was a brilliant person. He was very intelligent in one slice of knowledge in society. So he was a senior lecturer at the Queensland University of Technology, and he was an inventor and all that sort of stuff. So he was brilliant when it came to technology, but not so great in social situations. So it just depends. And we weren't in social situations, so I didn't notice that. And remember, in years gone by, we didn't know a lot about ADHD and Asperger's and things like that. It's only sort of like came into, I don't know how long, but back in the 90s, we didn't know a whole lot about it. So I don't think researchers were actually aware in some cases that could be a component. But that I've heard some people talk about that. I think I've heard Mary Rodwell talk about that sort of person, and these are the new kids on the block. But I'm not seeing those new kids on the block making great steps forward in our society because sometimes they just can't cope. Their mind is different. It's created differently. So, and they find they have to withdraw or, if they're way out on the spectrum, like they take things very literally, and but that's often our society, our conversation society is usually nuanced and subtle, and except, well, I'm talking about the female version. Males, you just have to tell them straight. But having said that, it's a lot of the female population that actually come forward and talk about close encounter cases more than males do. So I never really noticed anything unusual like that with witnesses.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. With the females seem to be having the more of a, a lot more, uh, encounters of such. It sort of makes you sort of curious as to what's your thoughts on that? Like, why does it seem to be more women than men on that sort of side of things?
I think they're just more willing to talk about it. And like through the 90s, I received a lot, I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of reports. I didn't have a life in the 90s. I was always on the phone, from women, but men and women, but mostly women who were having abduction experiences. And they would talk about missing pregnancies and, babies just disappearing and having menstrual problems. And, women in our society are much more open about talking about that because we talk about it with each other and we talk about it to the doctor. And, it's really something that we're much more familiar with than what men are. And I think it's just that they're more willing to come forward and talk about their experiences because of those things in our life.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories about where women have sort of lost pregnancies and such like that. Like, has there been like how many reports do you think in regards to that sort of experience for these women, like throughout the years? Like, is there a lot, or is it sort of a bit of a handful sort of thing?
Anthony, 37 years, I've got to take my mind back.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. More than a handful, less than half, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was not uncommon for women to report that, particularly having problems with their menstrual cycles too after these experiences. So, in a lot of times, women can be pregnant and they wouldn't know, but they wouldn't have realised yet, and yet the fetus might already be taken, and they would just think it's part of their usual cycle. We just don't know. There's not enough, the data on these particular types of things is not as, how can I say it, studied in such a way like UFO sightings are. For example, you don't have a website like the National UFO Reporting Centre where people can report their sightings to. We don't have that for people who, want to report these abduction experiences and they're documented, and then the public can go through and have a look at all these things. I haven't seen a website like that yet. I don't know if you have. Maybe I'm just not looking.
No, because it sort of would be a little bit touchy too I feel for some women to go say, "Hey, look, I'm pregnant, but now I'm not." Like, how do you sort of approach that towards a doctor, like in a medical sort of scenario?
Yeah. I mean, anything. I had a guy ring up 2 days ago, and he said, "I've got a friend. We're both sure he's had some sort of close encounter, and should he get a CAT scan and those sorts of things to see what's going on in his head? He thinks he might have an implant or something like that." And I said, "Well, good luck finding a doctor that you can say, 'Hey, I think I need a CAT scan because I might have an implant in my head.'" Doctors have to have a really good reason to do those particular sort of scans because they're expensive. They're using up valuable time in hospitals and private medical centres, and they've got to have a good reason to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the other point too, isn't it? Like, you can't get any real help anywhere to try and get the evidence in there in a scientific sort of way, which is really unfortunate. So look, when it comes to the women pregnancy and such, still like, because it's such a big thing in the past, was it still sort of happening today, or has it sort of gone a bit quiet on that?
Not being reported to us. I've asked other people, other researchers in Australia, not being reported to them. I still see that, some. Actually, I don't even know if they have those types of experience. I know that MUFON gets some because we had a meeting on Friday night, and the Australian rep for the Experiencer research team gave a presentation about the cases that she's worked with. But even those, they're dating back. I think there was one that was recent, but so the abduction experiences, after running for 10 long years on a almost daily basis, if not weekly basis at least, we received so many of those types of reports, and they weren't all sort of full-blown type of abduction experience, the classic abduction experiences that people report, but they had a lot of the aspects or features of them. But these days, just don't get it. If we did, it would be historical. It wouldn't be, generally. I can't remember the last time we received an abduction report.
Yeah, I've sort of picked up on that too. Like, a lot of people aren't seem to have as many abductions these days. And so, what's your thoughts on that? What are your reasons, like, why it's not so common these days?
Well, there's a few ideas. Whatever the project was for 10 years, it was over. They got what they wanted and they left. That's one. And, a lot of people, there's all sorts of theories of what they were doing. They're gathering DNA and hybridizing alien DNA with human DNA. Were they farming humans was another one that I was sort of leaned towards at one stage, because I thought, this is a 10-year-long experiment? I don't know. There was a whole lot of things going on. Why did it stop? Well, it could also be, why sighting reports aren't described as being very close up and detailed like we used to receive too, because we can now bring down those craft, or it appears we can bring down those craft. And from what I've heard from some of the intelligence or military people who were talking about it in other podcasts, that's exactly what we've been able to do for quite a while, actually. How else are we going to get our hands on alien tech? So we've somehow devised a way to bring it down, reverse engineer it, and use it to our advantage.
Yeah.
So it may be to do with proximity. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, Michelle's made a good point there. Maybe they're getting better at making us forget. So
that's an
really good one.
That's an interesting point. But you don't even have people coming forward with scoop marks or, gynecological problems or things like that. So, or missing pregnancies. So I'm not so sure if it's about getting better at making us forget. Personally, I think that they've probably done what they came here to do and gotten what they came here to get. And that was over for now. Yeah.
So on that then, like, going over, like, these things are supposed to have been around for potentially hundreds, if not thousands of years. Humanity's been around for a lot, tens of thousands of years, whatever. So why would it be suddenly in the 70s and 80s that they've been doing abductions and tests and whatnot, when they've had the chances there to do it, like, medieval days or prior?
Well, they probably did. They probably did. When you look at various indigenous mythologies, if you want to call it that, or beliefs, there's all these, talk of these beings, coming down, the sky gods coming down and walking amongst humans. And who knows what else they did? I don't know. And they could have been doing it all along. There's the whole thing to do with the Islamic jinn phenomenon, which is very similar. There's, there's the changeling phenomenon that's I think it's in Celtic lore, is it, or something like, children are taken away and these sickly sort of kids are brought back to replace them, which is what people talk about seeing on the craft. They see these kids that aren't doing too well. That's why they bring females on to try and, and get them to, and the aliens get them to hold them to try and perhaps make them feel better. Why the 70s, 80s and 90s? Well, post-war, post-World War II, we've suddenly decided to start blowing things up with atomic bombs, and those out there became aware that, hey, we've got nuclear weapons, well, those people have got nuclear weapons, and maybe we just better go and have a look what they're doing with them. And I remember some of the contactees used to say that when they blew up bombs here on the planet, I can't remember which one of them was. It said that it made the volcanoes on Mars explode, and the effects went out through the solar system and beyond. So, it could have been affecting those that were around us at the time out in space. Who knows? So, I think it's timing, really.
No, that's fair enough too. It's, so another question too is like you'll be familiar with Jane Pooley.
Yes,
She
I know
claims that
Jane.
she's had lovely lady. I've had to talk to her a couple of times on here. Now she claims that she's been involved in hybridization. There gets to go and see gets abducted there to go and see her kids and stuff like that. And you mentioned that like as Mark's mentioned here, how did these women cope with the experience there? Which I'll let you elaborate a bit more. But you said that they let them come on and hold their hybrid children and such. Like, so what's your theories on that?
Why do they do it, you mean?
If they do that, or what's your thoughts on it? Basically, if that's how they cope
Um,
or make women cope with having these sort of experiences there or not.
yeah. Look, there's a whole lot of things that I've heard over the years from experiences, which range from being taken on board a craft and to hold these hybrid children. And I think because these particular aliens, the abducting aliens, whoever they are, they don't understand the effects of physical touch with mother and child, and the bonding effects, and how it sort of it stimulates the baby's metabolism, and it gets your immune system going, and all those sorts of things. The immunities that the child gets from the parent. So in their ignorance, perhaps, because they're not gods, they don't know everything, they're not omnipotent. They try to get women to do this in the hope that these hybridized children will, become healthy because they don't know how to do it. It's a bit like Travis Walton when he had his experience, and he was knocked out. The guys who were there thought he was dead. He was taken up on the craft, and it turns out the ETs that were there on that craft with Travis, they handed him over to other ETs who did know how to, because supposedly Travis said it was an accident. They didn't mean to do it. This is his new interpretation, and that the ETs they handed him over to, they knew how to heal the human body, whereas these other ones didn't. So, I guess it just depends who does the abducting, what they know or what they think they know. They're experimenting with our DNA, so they don't know exactly everything that's going on. So maybe that's all a big part of it. Sometimes it's successful and sometimes it's a failure.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough too. It's just leads to more questions, doesn't it? Like, what the hell's going on and why they do it all? So another question here in the comments here with Aussie Ange. When was the peak time that abductions and contacts occurred in Australia, like the 80s, 90s, and which states have the highest amount of sightings and contact at the moment?
Oh, well, it was the 1990s for abductions all around the place, all around the world, actually, in the English-speaking world that we knew about, because there's language barriers. And the highest amount of sightings and contact at the moment, couldn't tell you. The reports that come into us, and I'm sorry to say this, but people who send us footage off their smartphones with a white dot and a black screen wanting to know, what is this? We can't tell anything from that. So we receive a lot of footage, but is it an alien craft? It's something, but it could be a plane, it could be camera shake, it could be anything. We just can't tell. The public just don't know how to take photos of UFOs, basically. So all the material, all the data that's coming in, it's too hard to be able to discern those numbers.
Yeah, and that's one of the hardest parts too. Like, a lot of people don't really seem to understand what's in our night skies at the moment, or they're not paying attention. or nor to like what's available in our technologies and our capabilities there, and especially with Starlink and planets that are coming up, or stars that are rising up in like in the different seasons of the year. And like one time it's not there, then they'll look over there a few nights later and like, oh, what's that over there? That wasn't there before. So people, then they go like, jump on and go to the camera, and as you're saying, like they're trying to film it, and it looks all grainy or out of focus, and it doesn't help at all with what they're trying to say, or show what they're captured. But it's like,
Well,
well, what can you do with it?
yeah, well,
How
there's
do
also there's things in the sky that we don't know about. There's spy satellites that just don't come up on radar,
yeah,
or they're not going to show to the public data collection systems. They have their own data collection systems higher up than us little plebs down here. So there's a lot of that. There's military stuff that we're not aware of. So it's really hard to know what it is you're actually looking at.
no, it's right. So I'm just going through another one here. So I'll get into that soon. Like, 'cause I want to go and pick your brain then, like with what people are sort of reporting and how they're reporting. So we'll definitely touch on that very shortly. I'm just going to quickly try and catch up comments here. Before we get too far away off topic here, so just a quick one here with Michelle. There, she's like, "Have you heard of Dolly Saffron? She has a show with Preston Dennett. She says she flies UFO craft. Interesting lady."
I have heard of Dolly Saffron. We actually hosted Preston earlier in the year, I think it was, on one of our members' meetings, and Dolly jumped on as well. Yeah, I say, show me the evidence. It's hard to provide that in some of these experiences. But I have to say, Anthony, the longer I'm in this field of research, the more I'm saying, well, show me evidence, and this is what people are saying about the latest disclosure, Age of Disclosure documentary. It's all talk, show me the evidence, get on with it. And, I remember years ago that people who were saying that their DNA was being changed. I think Mary Rodwell was one of the main proponents of this, saying that people's DNA was being changed. These people had report close encounters. And I remember saying to her in an email, well, DNA tests are a lot cheaper these days than they used to be. How about you get some done? Well, I've never seen any that any of those people have put forward. So, I really want to see more evidence about these types of things. Yeah, I'm probably the worst skeptic around, but my mind is open to all possibilities. But I'm pretty grounded in, and probably disappointing to a lot of people, but I'm fairly grounded, level-headed when it comes to looking at data and being objective about these reports. And I'd love for these things everything to be real, and for for people to be able to provide that evidence, but it's just hard to come by. And let's face it, the public, they don't have access to radar data. So you can't get that sort of hard evidence with sightings, for example. So it's just hard too. I understand that as well.
Yeah. So so let's touch on the reporting side of things there. So obviously you've got decades worth of people reporting in, because you've actually got a live hotline as well where people can actually ring out and go, hey, I'm actually seeing something, or whatever. So how do you go about approaching that, or dealing with that, basically? Because like a lot of people, they do have a lot of mistaken identities of something that they think they're seeing. Like, how do you go about explaining that? Because as you know, like I run the Australian UFO sightings page there and get lots of people coming in there sharing their stuff there, and you try and share your knowledge of like what the easy misidentifieds are. And next minute you get attacked and abused, and you don't know what the hell you're talking about. It's like, so whoa, hang on, you're sharing something here, and I'm trying to explain something to you, but you want it to be a UFO, and unfortunately, you're not seeing a UFO. But it's like, how do you juggle between that? I'm sure you've been attacked at some point.
Yeah, very carefully. I let people down easily, and I these days I try and give them some sort of feedback and say, but in the end I just say it's very interesting. It remains unidentified, because this field of research is so packed with human psychology. It is really hard to get through to people to help educate them about what it is that they're seeing. They so want it to be alien, right? For all types of reasons. And I get that. When the world gets tough, we want to pack our bags and leave, So I know that there are a lot of people out there with their bags packed ready for the aliens to come and pick them up, but it's not going to happen. I'm sorry. You're just going to have to stay on planet Earth and face the hardships like the rest of us. It's just what I usually do with them. Well, it doesn't appear to be a helicopter. I go through the list, the helicopter, the plane, the satellites, the ISS, anything, all those things that we know. And if I tick all those off and I say, well, that's very interesting, it seems to remain unidentified. And I leave it with them and I let them decide what it is, because they're going to do it anyway, right?
Yeah.
So why, and I don't actually feel like I have the right to take that away from them in that sense. You can't educate a public that doesn't want to be educated. You have to wait till they come around to it. And that's just where I leave it these days. Yeah.
Yeah, like I know what you mean. Like it can be extremely frustrating, like especially when they don't want to listen or don't want to borrow of it. And like everyone who knows that listens to the podcast regularly, like they know that I won't go and jump and claim an alien card. Doesn't matter what sort of evidence or footage you try and show me. I'm not going to say it's like an alien craft unless you are actually seeing a physical craft that's not AI generated or something like, then I can say, yeah, no, you got yourself an actual alien craft there. But if it's a light in the sky, there's no way in hell I'm going to tell you that's an alien craft, because there's not enough evidence there for it. And people shouldn't be getting upset over that. There's no reason to. So unless you can see something that's doing, amazing things like those instant, spontaneous trajectories, or can turn on a dime 90%. Like drones can do that, but we're talking about speeds differences here. Like it has to be instantaneous, basically. Let's doing something like that. Then yeah, you've got something there, but the likelihood of you capturing is like 0% chance, because you're not going to be fast enough to get it. Yeah,
exactly. And it's interesting how much people want to believe in this. When I do media interviews, they say, "So do you believe in UFOs?" I say, "No, I don't believe in them. I've looked at the data and I can accept it. I don't deny it. I've accepted what what people are telling me and what I think. There's been enough data to back it up to say this is really unusual. And approach it with a sort of like an open mind like that, but." Also, I don't back away from people who say, I know it's real, because there's been so much data collected year after year after year after year. I mean, unless the whole planet is having a mass hallucination, you've got to say, hey, what the heck's going on?
What do you think my slogan about sums it up?
I don't believe I know. Exactly. Yes, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's there's definitely something out there. That's what people like when they sort of approach you and you sort of try and let them down that what they're seeing isn't really potentially a UFO of any nature in that sort of case. It's not that we don't believe something is out there. It's more the fact that we're trying to get the hard evidence of something that is out there, so people can be found more credible when they come forward with their experiences there, their encounters and such. Like, we want to believe what they're saying. Because, like as you said, like there's years of decades of data there.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how much we really need. How much more do we need? It's ridiculous how much data is stuffed into archives of various organisations and independent researchers. And I mean, how much more do we need? And I guess that's where we're at, isn't it? Like the public needs to get past that and say, okay, well, we're going to accept that this is, there's a phenomenon going on. We don't fully understand it all. We've got the US Congress trying to push for disclosure, having congressional hearings and those sorts of things. But are we actually getting anywhere? I don't know. I don't know that we really are. It's a really hard thing to push the legacy program to admit to what we know is real, and to release documents and footage, and for more whistleblowers to come forward and all these sorts of things. But we just seem to be going round and round and round. I think we've got a bit of disclosure fatigue at the moment, really.
yeah, like I'm reluctant to go and like start watching the UFO sort of stuff that's on YouTube and social media these days. Like I'm tired of it myself. I've probably been looking at this sort of stuff for probably good 10 years now, if not a bit longer. And you sort of get tired. Like everyone's going, "Oh yeah, disclosure's happening soon." They're going to go and announce something. There's like, "Yeah, right. We've all heard it all before." And you go along and it's, "Oh, what a surprise! We didn't get anything. Wow." And it's good. It's sort of good. Like in the last, was it 7 years? I think it's been now that
Yeah.
the US has sort of taken it a bit seriously, but we're not getting anywhere there either. Like it just seems to be a roundabout game of people doing Congress meetings there, and is this a game for views and I don't know clickbait sort of crap? Like, where are we going with this? Like, it's like I said, it's a dead end. It's just round and round and round.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know where to go with that conversation because it just goes round and round and round, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts though? Like when it comes to the U.S. Congress and like they're actually, dive or sort of partially investigating into the UAPs and such. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think they're pushing, pushing a massive rock up a big hill. Good luck. There's the legacy program is made up of the United States Air Force, the various military, the military, and various military contractors. That's what I'm trying to think of, and CIA and blah blah blah. So, there's talk about some of the people in Congress being paid because you know how they're trying to get these bills passed, and there's getting a pushback, and the talk is that those people pushing back are being paid by the military contractors to push back because they want to keep it all quiet. They want the technology and they want to be able to develop it off the books. So they don't want all this stuff to come out in the public because it's money. So
Yeah.
it's really, really difficult to push back, to push against those military contractors who've got their hands on people's pockets. I don't know how they're going to do it, but unless they, sort of somehow get around those people who are being paid to push back, I just don't know what they're going to do. They have to bring in some laws. I know that Danny Sheehan was one of the things he was working on was making it that these people could be subpoenaed who have the knowledge to appear and tell what they know, etc. But I don't know whether that's actually gone ahead and been accepted. I'm not really sure. I haven't sort of stayed up with that recently. Yeah, I just say good luck.
It's just frustrating. Like we've got Ross Coulthard who's sort of leading one of the heavy hitters there. You got Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp. These guys are constantly out there, like being informative to the public and that. Like, but even then, they're still not really giving much to the public either. Like, it's like you'd think with all their sources and their knowledge and know-how, like they'd be able to at least sort of wean their way through and go, hey, this guy knows something without, causing too much drama and like sort of throwing him under the bus a little bit, and go, hey, these guys know something, go and talk to them. They got the information.
I'm sure they do that in the background quietly. I'm like, come on, you can do this. Because I know they worked with David Grush for ages to get him to come forward. So it's not as easy as we think. This is a very, when people are in those positions, they're very intricately connected to all sorts of people and organizations, and they've got to be careful for themselves, for their own career, and for their health and safety, basically, because David Grush said there had been attempts to hurt him, and so with, I think Lou Elizondo said that too. I'm not sure what to think of Lou Elizondo these days, but that's another question. It's just not as easy as we think, but I've watched various podcasters who've said, just give us the goods, They could if they want to blow up their lives. I mean, I wouldn't want to blow up my life. Not easy.
No, I get that too, and but there's got to be some easy, like some way they can do it, where it's a tactical way of dropping a bomb. Basically, it's the Americans are very good at being tactical, and surely they've got to come up with some way of you know releasing something there where it's actually hard evidence. And just a quick look in the comments here quickly. Mark's asked, like, what would you consider as hard evidence?
Considered to be evidence. Well, if you're talking about a sighting, like you said before, Anthony, like something going from, and we have a lot of these reports, something being seen going from one horizon to the opposite horizon, like 2 seconds flat, like boom, like that. When people talk about that, and I do take people at their word with those sorts of things. I don't expect them to be able to prove that, because you can't, because a lot of sightings are seen so briefly. But if they, see something that is travelling along very fast and it does a 90-degree turn at a high speed, that's another sort of indicator. But evidence, that's a good question. I don't know. My ideas about evidence change all the time. There's a difference between proof and evidence. I actually don't put a lot of stock in photos these days because of what's happened, with manipulation. It's just so easy, much easier to do. I listen to people's stories because I'm used to hearing certain features pop up, and in my mind I go, oh, tick, there that is, that's there too, that's there too. So for me, I'm sort of paying a lot more attention to what they're saying than what they're reporting that they're seeing, or some sort of photo, because photos they're very difficult to analyse.
Yeah. No, that's true too. So I've lost myself where I was going to go with that now.
Evidence. We're talking evidence.
That's right, evidence. And like, as you say, like, you're not going to capture the things that are going to go split second across the sky. But are they actually seeing a craft, or is it potentially a meteorite going through the atmosphere? Like, I like to think everyone knows what a meteorite looks like. So I wonder what they're sort of, configuring there. Is it an alien craft they're trying to claim, or a meteorite?
Well, I've got to understand too that meteorites don't travel horizontally. So there's that, I suppose. These are the things that people need to be educated about too. So if it's coming down at a 45-degree angle, that's going to be a meteorite probably, unless you see it come down and then it goes up, which we've got reports of that. So what is that? I don't know. Something very, very strange.
Yeah, because there's obviously a lot of strange things out there we don't quite fully understand. And then there's also people like myself and yourself who have an idea what's out there, but majority of the public don't know what's out there. So what's a good way to sort of try and educate these people before they go and start trying to claim things are UFOs?
Oh, well, get a few apps, get the ISS, get the Flight Radar 24, get the satellites. What's the other one? There's the Something in Sky app. It tells you everything that's in the sky. And there's a whole lot of things that you can rule off, tick off and go, oh, well, it could have been that then, or it could have been that, or it could have been that. Well, just so that you know that it's not that, right?
Yeah.
And if you come up the end of that list and you go, well, I couldn't find anything that sort of explained it, well, then, then you contact us and say, well, I've been through all this. I don't know what it is. I can't explain that. What do you think? Then great. Saves me doing all that work.
Yeah, that's right. So one of the comments here is like saying disclosure comes from we the people, which what are your thoughts on that sort of comment? I've got my own sort of views. Let's see what yours is first.
Oh, I definitely think it comes from the grassroots level. Unfortunately, as long as people fail to report their experiences, then they're part of the cover-up too, in a way. Not on purpose, but they're, the population holds the information back as well. And I get that. There's a lot of ridicule still that's around, nowhere near what it used to be when I sort of entered the field, nowhere near it. And actually, I find people are much more interested. What do you do? Well, my spare time, I spend time researching the UFO subject. I'm attached to UFO Research Queensland. I'm president of that organisation. Receive reports from the public. Really? How exciting! And that happened to me just a couple of weeks ago when I went to the bank. I had some business there, and the girl said, she said, "So what do you do now that you're retired?" I said, "Well, actually, I'm a UFO researcher." "Oh, really? Tell me all about it." It turns out she's very interested in the subject. So
Yeah, wow.
yeah, it's interesting where you find these people.
Yeah, absolutely. They just come out of nowhere, don't they? Like you were doing your own thing, and next minute, whoa, okay, this person's actually serious on UFOs, and you start going down sort of the
Mm.
rabbit hole sort of thing. It's really sort of exciting stuff. So, but I feel like it's a bit of a tit for tat in my sort of perspective on these things where when it comes to disclosure, because a lot of the people publicly, and you've, as you said before, you like people are mistaking a lot of things, and a bit of a psychological sort of aspect of things. Where are they seeing something there, or could have been a imagination or some sort of hallucination? So like it's sort of I feel like it can be a little bit distrusting when it comes from the public side of things to go and be where all the evidence is, because we already come down as well class as the UFO nutters, the crazies, basically from the rest of the world. Um, but we also rely on the American government to go and disclose a lot of things too. So like, how are we going to go and sort of juggle between the public's, mistaken planets or starlinks or lights in the sky that's something explainable to the government's reliability? Like, how are we going to go and sort of weigh that up as a bit of a disclosure?
You mean weigh up the misinterpretations by the public against what the US government says? Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
basically. Yeah, basically. Yeah, I'll probably explain that really badly. Sorry.
I don't really know. I'm not even sure I know what that means. Well, I don't know. I can't answer that, Anthony, because I really don't know the answer.
Yeah, I know. That's sort of like something that questions me. Like, 'cause, like, yeah, people are going like as was it? I think it was Macca said, like, where the public's got to go and be the routes for disclosure, but it's like not really, because like as I said before, like we're classed as UFO nutters. We're crazy people thinking things are flying around the skies, but yet
Yeah.
the government's investigating it. Yet why are we still classed as UFO nutters, but we can't even identify that there's a satellite going over and start calling them UFOs?
Yeah. Yeah. And, and just to pick up on that point, probably some of the people here recently watched the Age of Disclosure documentary, and I thought that one of the missed opportunities with that, although I know that the producer had a certain goal in mind with it, but it would have been great to see, people who had experiences or witnessed many things and they had great footage and all that sort of stuff, but if they had put people who'd had close encounters in with that documentary, it would have because the people who were interviewed were of a certain level in society, if I could say it like that, scientists, ex-military personnel, etc. If they could have intertwined people who'd had close encounters with that, then those people, the close encounter experiences, I think they would have stood better in society, gained some sort of how can I say it, increase on the ladder of credibility with those people. Because, but what I saw was if you didn't, because those people who were speaking in the documentary, there's a big space, a big gap between them and people on the street like us, right?
Yeah.
So if we could have leveraged the close encounter experiences with those types of people, I think that the general public would be much more accepting of the phenomenon and what people are saying. So, for example, if they'd said, well, we know that this person had a close encounter, and then that person came forward, that would be great. So there's still this really big gap that where the people who are interested in the subject or report close encounters, that they're a different breed to these other people.
That's right. Yeah.
Am I making myself clear? I don't know if I am.
No, that's right. Yeah, no, because like people want someone who's held in high regards in the public to, sort of trustworthy. Like that's where Avi Loeb's come into the picture there, and claiming the Oumuamua, and then this AI Atlas come past and stuff like that. And he's trying to not say that this object going through our system at the moment is definitely an alien craft, but he's putting it out there saying it's potentially an alien craft. Like we should be treating it like one, basically. But then the whole UFO community's gone, oh look, this guy's a Harvard bloody scientist, and he's saying it's an alien craft, and they're just gone off with it and made it bigger than what it had to be, and trying to make claims that it's an alien craft. Probably said that horribly, probably, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, Avi Loeb never said it was an alien craft. What he was saying was it had these strange features to it, and why aren't we studying it more closely?
Yeah.
And he had a good point, because scientists, that's their job. They should be studying it. And then you had people like Ross Coulthard who said, he'd been speaking to people who said, no, that's not true. But Avi Loeb said, I'm the one who's studying it. I'm the one who's writing papers. Why pay attention to those people? They're not studying what I'm studying, and he was very irate about that. And I don't blame him. So scientists need to do their job, and they need to do it freely. But of course they can't, because it's all about, keeping a job, getting funding for their ongoing research, and they've got to step very carefully. But, I'm going to be really curious to see what 3i Atlas actually turns out to be, because it has very, very strange features which aren't like a normal comet. It doesn't fit the comet umbrella under that. Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's definitely strange. Especially with NASA, not really taking any imagery, or if they did, there's really horrible stuff. Like it's sort of hard to sort of pick what's real footage these days between NASA and social media, because a lot of people just posting so much bloody clickbait crap. It's so hard to trust what's being presented these days.
Yeah.
And now people are claiming it's changed color or something like that. I don't know how accurate that is, but it's a strange object, to say the least, and we don't understand it. And by all rights, we should have been well and truly studying in this there and getting more footage, or trying to figure out what it's made of, basically. But why are we so reliant on bloody NASA to go and pull up imagery when we've got multiple countries all the way around the world who have the technology capabilities to go and look at this bloody thing? Like, why is everyone, again, so reliant on the US government's bloody technology?
Yes, exactly. I fully agree. I don't understand that. But that's such a big conversation. I don't even know if I need to open the door. How much time have we got?
As long as you want. As long as you got.
I just spoke about it at our meeting a week ago, and it's just incredible. And 3i Atlas did actually change color. It became cooler, not warmer, as it got to the sun, so it became bluer. And it has 7 jets coming out of it that in different directions. What is that? It actually deviated from the gravitational path that it was on. What made it do that? So yeah, it's very strange. And I just say to people, watch this space, because we need to those features need to be studied and answered as to why was that going on. It could be something incredible. Maybe it's not alien, but it's something incredible, and we could learn a lot from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the gas, it's probably gas escaping. Like once it's got close to the sun, there it's heated up a little bit there, creating some cracks. I think which a lot of comets do. As they get close to the sun, there they start cracking under the pressure and the heat and whatnot, and gas starts escaping, which helps change its trajectories and whatnots. Without getting too scientifically on the nature of it, but so that's like one theory I've got with why it's changed its gravitational trajectory, basically. But the color changing is a strange thing. Is it actually the object itself, or is it from our technology that's trying to as things get hotter and colder? We've got the thermal, basically. I think our what's the deep space one that we've got there that does the telescope?
James Webb Telescope.
Yeah, that one. I think that's got that's how they get a lot of their distances of stars and stuff like that from thermal.
Yeah, that can take amazing photos.
So,
Yeah.
like, is that something that they're doing? Is this these type of lenses that they're putting on there to go and change the color because of warmth wise? Like, I'm
No,
not sure. I guess, or is
no,
it the
no.
actual object itself that they're claiming that's changing
Yeah,
color?
yeah, that's exactly right. It's changing and it's being detected, and because it's getting cooler, not warmer, close to the sun. Yeah.
It makes it interesting, doesn't it? I'm just
It
trying to
does.
go through. Hasn't NASA lost a lot of funding for space stuff? I think so. Not entirely sure on that one though. Mac is asking me if I've actually had a phenomena. Yeah, I've had an experience I can't explain. It's nothing phenomenal in the nature of what other people have claimed, but it's something that I can't quite explain due to other witnesses because they saw the same thing too. So basically, if you want to know quickly rundown, I saw two objects flying side by side, probably about 10,000 feet roughly, night shifts, about 11 o'clock at night. And from when I was operating the machinery at the time, so I couldn't hear anything. And from when I spotted them, they're probably about to my right a little bit. And I watched these things fly from west to east and basically over the horizon. The whole thing took maybe like 3 minutes. They were gone. But there were two orange orbs, and I'm thinking, could it be a plane or fighter jets or something like that? No navigation lights, so there was nothing there to really sort of identify it. And like, so I'm running down there, like, there's planes. What the hell are these things? And I'm thinking the two fighter jets there were the afterburners, and they're just flying over where I was working in the mine site. So yeah, then I jumped out later and talked to a few other blokes there, and they went straight over the top of them. Same explanation was just told you then, but there was no sound. Now, if they were fighter jets, they would have heard them for sure. Like, those things are bloody loud. If everyone who's had a fighter jet go over top of them, they know they are bloody loud. But yeah, no sound, nothing at all. Nothing to identify them by. Just straight over top of them, gone, bye. And yeah, matter of 3 minutes, gone. So that's my phenomena. That's there. We're sort of maybe dive into a lot more of this, but it's one of those things you just try and work out what the hell it is. Like, in my mind, I still think they're fighter jets, and I don't know, maybe these guys just didn't hear it, but they're pretty adamant. Like, no, these things were on top. We were outside at the time. We didn't hear nothing, so I can't explain that. But just unfortunately, it wasn't anything really overly phenomenal, and no, actual physical object crafts or nothing like that, and no phenomenal speeds to sort of explain it as a potential alien craft or in that nature. So that's my quick little one. so, um, so quickly going through the comments here, like, so Snuffy's been going through. I've been like sort of quick reading what Snuffy's got here in the comments there, and like he's got a big claim here, and I'll try and find one of there. He's like, especially people who've been in the comments here. I don't know if you can see the comments there, Cheryl, but he's claiming he's getting chased down by the FBI and such like that. And it's like, yeah, look, I'll take your word for it, but like, how do you sort of approach that sort of thing when it comes to people claiming they got governments chasing after them and they're seeing UFOs all the time? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, some years ago, I had someone turn up at my door, and had his wife and two kids in the car, and they were all sort of frantic and stressed. And he said that the CIA, ASIO were chasing them, or maybe it was some military group, I can't remember, intelligence services, military. They were chasing them, and I'm thinking, oh man, I just came home from work. I can't deal with this. And my late husband, he just stood out on the front veranda. No way I was going to let him in the house. Stood out the front veranda and talked to him for about an hour, trying to calm him down. And we were at the end, we just could not figure out whether he had some mental, imbalance, or he just really believed, he was deluded about what was going on, or it really was true. And sometimes you just can't tell. You don't know, because we have no way of finding these things out. So yeah, it's not easy to know when things are real and when they aren't. It's very difficult sometimes.
Yeah, because I've had a guest on the show there. I think I got a couple of guests actually. They claim they're getting chased by the Men in Black or they're being followed and such like that. And it's like, well, look, it's hard to sort of try and believe on that sort of like what you're claiming, because like obviously they can't prove it. and that's probably the hardest part. And like you want to sort of like believe what they're claiming, but it's like, I don't know, like what do you do with that?
Yeah, well, it depends on the person reporting it and what they're saying. And back in the 90s, I had this guy call me. He lived probably about 15 minutes from me, which in those days was, still rural. And he was living in a little cabin on someone's property. He claimed to be an ex-Green Beret. This is what he told me over the phone. And he told me that he'd been watching a red light come onto the property and sort of go down in this gully behind where he was living and sort of disappeared. And the next thing he knows, he's got these two guys who are knocking at his door. He opens the door. They sort of push themselves through the door. And, they had very pale skin. I think he said they had fair hair, wearing sort of like suits. But he said they were drongos, like that's an Australian slang, anyone listening, that they were acting like they were drunk or off balance, and they didn't seem to be making sense, and they sort of intimidated him. And he was if he was an ex-Green Beret, which he said he was, and then they left. Oh no, sorry, I got that a little bit confused. This red light. He rang up and he told me about it and then got off the phone. And then later on, he rings me back and tells me that these guys turned up at his door. And he said, "Did you tell them where I live?" And I said, well, I don't know where you live. Or my phone. So I don't have a phone that actually the numbers come up, and I still don't, like the landline. And he said, well, somehow they knew where I lived. And I said, well, maybe they were part of the group who were tracking the red light, right? Because it's come into the atmosphere and it's showed up on radar maybe. And I don't know. And he was quite upset because he thought that I had told someone where he lived, and then these guys turned up. But I sort of took him at his word. So I said, well, maybe our phone is tapped, because in those days we had a few occasions where we thought it actually was. People were listening into, public reporting things, and the phone was going all the time. So it was probably a good reason to tap into it. But that's, it's just a possibility. So I took him at his word, and he ended up getting involved with a few other people who went up to investigate crop circles on the Sunshine Coast here in Queensland. But actually it turned out to just be downed crop from lodging, and the farmer, the sugarcane farmer, was sort of a little bit, I think he was a little bit tongue-in-cheek about these people piling onto his property and wanted to go and look at the lodged cane, like that had just fallen over. But it was just, there was so much of it. And I went up there too later on. And then I never heard about him again. So who knows? But, there are, how do you know when someone's telling the truth? Sometimes you have to have really good intuition if you're listening to people talk about these experiences, and a good BS detector too. And if you feel like something doesn't feel right about this person or this story, then it probably isn't, and that's what we eventually learn to trust.
Yeah, that's the thing too, isn't it? Because there's a lot of bullshit out there. It's like that. Not that we want these stories to be bullshit, but I don't know whether it's people trying to have a moment of fame or something like. What are they sort of gaining from making up stories? There is this a mental issue thing that they're trying to achieve, or what's I don't know. Like, how do you put them in a category where it's just a nuisance more than anything?
Yeah. Sometimes people, I find some of the people in the UFO community are looking for a place to belong, and they find this community and they want to be a part of it because it's interesting, it's exciting, it's mysterious, it's all the things that engage the human mind and the human heart, and it's all the things that make us want to get on the spaceship and go out and investigate the universe. Yeah, it's just so interesting, and I'm grateful that I've done this for so long and had the opportunity to talk to so many people over the years. It's a privilege, And there's not many people in Australia who've been able to do that. And that's, it's such an interesting topic. So interesting.
Oh, and just can take you down all these rabbit holes. It's like it's never ending. Like the problem is, like, you want answers there, but they're never there. Like you might find something that's like, oh, this might be an answer to something there, but then it's like, no, that just leads to more questions. Now it's like, what do I do? I guess it's extremely frustrating. But you mentioned before, which is one of the questions I was going to ask too, is you've been on the organization's been around a long time. Have there had any government dealings, like anyone trying to approach in to get any data or any archives files or anything, or even investigate into you guys there? And what's the word now? I can't think now. Like where they talk to you. My brain's doing funny things now. They'd want to talk to you guys, and what's the word? I can't even think of it now. Detectives when they talk to you, and I can't even think of it.
Infiltrate.
No, not infiltrate. It's another one.
Okay.
Why can't I think of it? They put you in a room there and they want to talk to you, and like, what's that called? I can't even think of why.
Oh, yep.
I can't think of the word.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Even everyone's like integrate. No, what is the word? Why can't anyone get it at the moment?
It's Sunday night. That's why.
That'll be it.
But I can tell you that
interrogate. Thank you, Aussie Ange. Interrogate.
Oh, interrogate. Oh, yes. Thank you, Ange. Yeah. Interrogate. No. Not any of us personally. We do know that Frederick Valentich's fiance, who was fiance at the time of his disappearance, Rhonda, she was interrogated. And she came to one of our meetings and told her side of that story. But years ago, we did have someone from ASIO who insinuated themselves in the organisation because one of the committee members, and I don't know whether it was Dan Sears himself, who was one of the very, very early presidents, or one of the others, but they were communicating with someone in Russia. And so the ASIO didn't like that, and they wanted to know, what are they talking about, what's going on? This is in the days when you're sending letters and things like that. This gentleman got involved with the group, but eventually he became a member and reported on what the activities of the organisation, but eventually he came forward that he was actually a member of ASIO, and so the committee kicked him out.
Oh, wow.
And I don't think he was ever seen again. But we have had people who are snooping, if you could call it that, on snoop missions. And I was watching. Where was it? No, it was one of our conferences. I think it was in 2003, where there were these two guys sitting. Oh no, it was earlier than that, and it was in the 90s when Colin Andrews came out here. We hosted him. And there were two guys sitting down the back of the Kindler Theatre at the Queensland University of Technology in Brisbane City. And they were dressed in just jeans, shirts, black leather jackets, boots, just sitting very quietly at the back of the room and just observing. And after a while, you start to pay attention to those people because they weren't mingling with other people as most people did in the breaks or anything like that, weren't talking to anybody and just keeping to themselves, and they were just watching, they were listening to what was being presented. So we've had situations like that. We might have even had one at our 2006 conference. That was the one that Shane Panisi brought his father Albert down, and so that Albert could speak at our conference. I think we might have had a couple of people like that there as well, just listening to what people were saying. And, it's easy to do. So it's an easy way for them to collect information about what is the UFO interested public talking about and what are researchers talking about and presenting.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough too. Because you think of the large organisation like yourself there, like there's got to be someone like a mole in the organisation somewhere, wouldn't you? So you just never know. Yeah,
Could be. And, we're open. We're happy to share information. People just have to ask, and we'll do it if we can. If it's, they don't want a whole amount of information, because that's work, which is all voluntary. But we'll share information that we can. Like I sent you those photos from Tully and things like that.
Yeah, we'll touch on that very shortly. How much time do you have, by the way? I didn't ask you at the start of the show. Do you got time?
Okay.
Or
Yep.
Cool, righto. So I was just going back up to the top of the counters, the comments, to go and touch on one of Australia's biggest probably encounters there. Then we'll touch on Tully. Now, salesman, I don't know if he's still listening or not, but he's said, "Hi, Anthony and Sheryl. Part of the Westall incident, has Australia had any other encounters like the Westall encounter?" So
yes, and they're under investigation. I'm actually looking into one in Adelaide. The hard part is getting it took place over a particular school. I'm not going to name the school. We thought we had one of the teachers who would come forward, who said he would, but he hasn't. And one of the witnesses has tracked down another teacher, and he's trying to get him to come forward. So, sometimes these investigations can take a while. You've got to wait for people to convince themselves that they're ready to come forward. I called one of the students from the school who this particular witness nominated, and he said he didn't remember the incident. But the incident was that these boys came out of class at lunchtime, and they saw a UFO over the oval. And the kids, he said there were about 50 kids on the oval, and they were looking at it. And then the next thing they know, the kids were sort of fairly calm until then, but the next thing they know, this jet comes in and it chases the UFO. Of course, the jet screams in, makes a lot of noise, and that's when the kids go, "What?" Hysterical, because it frightens them. And then the UFO takes off. And then the school bell went off. It was to call assembly. The kids were assembled, and the headmaster told them basically he didn't see anything, nothing happened, and go home. There's no more school today. So they went home. So that's one that I'm currently investigating. I also know there's one in northern New South Wales that someone else is currently investigating. Again, it's from a primary school, I think it is. Again, the problem is trying to get these witnesses to come forward. And it's just not easy. So there's two ongoing cases at the moment besides Westall, to answer the question.
Yeah. What years did they happen? Did you mention what years they happened?
The one in Adelaide was 72, 73, and I think the other one was around the same time too.
Right. Because I remember seeing reports of potentially after Westall happened, there was even some sightings in Adelaide along that same time frame. In 66 as well. I'm not sure how accurate that is on that one.
A lot happened in 66.
Yeah, so it seems.
Yeah.
But yeah, I reckon. It's sort of amazing. Like, why is it schools? Do you reckon? Like, it seems like a lot of reports are from schools. Like, even the one that were in Africa, that was a school one as well. But nothing really close encounter as what was the African. Is it African? I think another one.
In Rua, at the Rua school.
Yeah, that might be it. Yeah.
In 94. That's the one that John Mack investigated.
Yeah. That's a very interesting case.
There's a lot of schoolyard encounters. Preston Dennett's written a book called Schoolyard Encounters.
Right.
And I gave a presentation some years ago about schoolyard encounters too. There's another one I think it's in Wales, that I can remember. But Preston's got quite a few. The whole book's full of these schoolyard encounters. Very good. You should get it. People should buy it. Yeah.
Right. Andrew's just asking, was it the same time frame as Sheryl? Was it the same time frame Sheryl that Westall was? So no, it was like
no.
Was it 10 years? Not 10 years, but 8 years later or something like
that. 7 years later, yeah.
7 years. Close enough maths. There you go. So anyway, what's a quick one here? I see Cheryl's last name. Looks like they're saying Gottschall. Yeah, I picked up that too when I first heard your name like, haha, got you all.
Yeah, no. It's actually German in origin. My late husband was Hungarian, but in a sort of like a German rural area, and it actually means the sound of God.
Oh, right. Wow. Well, there you go. Feel my wrath. So, all right. So let's touch on Tully here. Like now, a lot of people who aren't familiar with the Tully nest there. So was it 19th of January? Correct me if I'm wrong. 19th of January. I'm pretty sure. 1966, up in it wasn't actually in the town of Tully.
It was Uramo.
Yorimo, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Just on the outskirts in there, and George Pedley on a tractor and thought he heard a noise like a tire popping or a hissing noise from his tractor of some sorts. Jumped off, couldn't find anything, and then sees this craft coming out from a nearby creek or
Lagoon.
some lagoon or marshes, basically, and comes up, tilts on its side slightly, and then takes off. Is that how the reports go on your end?
Yeah, it was actually the 9 a.m. on the 19th of January, 1966. Yep. And George was actually driving his tractor across the property of neighbouring cane farmer Albert Panisi. And the track wound its way past what's known locally as Horseshoe Lagoon. And the lagoon was about 100 feet or 30 metres across and about 6 feet or just under 2 metres deep. The total area that it took up then was about 1 acre. The greater part of the water was covered with a thick growth of water reeds that were about 1/2 inch in thickness, and they protruded above the water about 1/2 a metre or 2 feet, 1/2 a metre or something like that. The lagoon was on George's right and the sun was well up in the sky on his left, and he thought he detected an occasional misfire in the tractor motor. So he leaned forward in his seat to listen, and almost immediately he heard a distinct hissing noise. And for a moment he thought a tyre had punctured and was leaking air. And then, like he said, to his astonishment, a large saucer-shaped object rose from the lagoon, ascended slowly to the level of the treetops on the other side of the water, tilted a little to one side, and then with a fantastic burst of speed, it just vanished in a southwesterly direction. His sighting was only 4 seconds, but it was good enough for him to get an eyeball of it, right, and describe it as about 25 feet in diameter, about 9 feet thick at the centre, silver grey in colour, and was generally sharp in its outline. So he jumped from the tractor, ran across to the lagoon, pushing his way through the 6-7 feet tall swordgrass growing along the water's edge, and immediately observed out in the middle of the reeds a large circular area of slowly rotating water, which was completely devoid of reeds. And he further saw near the edge of the still slowly swirling water, this is very curious, a patch of giant water couch grass about a square yard, of which had apparently been clipped short and the clippings had been removed. Anyway, so he returned to the tractor, started the motor, went on his way, and later that morning he came back past the lagoon, and that's when he saw this floating mass of reeds which had come to the surface during his absence. I don't know how long it was, but it was a few hours. And the reeds were radially distributed in an anti-clockwise manner, and I think where are you, Anthony? I've lost you.
Oh, I'm here. It should be on the...
I've lost the screen. Sorry.
I'm sharing the images there, so it must have pushed
yeah, I'm just looking at some of my notes so I can tell you exactly from the report. This particular photo, and I'll just double check this one. This is not on George's property. I know. I was
going to say that didn't look like it was on their property.
No, this is on the Dawes Lagoon, the Dawes property. I think in your thing that you recorded with Shane Panisi, he talked about the Dawes lived behind him, and they were related. They were in-laws. So this is what showed up on their property. That was in June 1975.
Wow.
And then what was the other photo?
So was that one there?
Oh, that was the original, yeah. Original, so over to the left there, you can see one of them is standing
That's
Can you
right there.
see?
There is.
There,
There is.
yeah, that's a man there, so you can see how big it is in relation to that.
Oh, I can zoom. Hey, look at that.
Yeah,
Wow.
look at that. Who knew? That's an amazing thing. So when he went and got Albert and came back, that he could dive under that massive floating reeds, and they'd been completely pulled up from the bottom of the lagoon, which, by the way, sometimes dried out in the dry weather. And it was just floating on top, and it was some people might have seen the photos of him sitting on the reeds. Oh, this is actually George's sketch of what he saw.
Yep.
So that gives you a good idea. It was classic saucer shaped, two inverted saucers, one on top of the other. And now this is really interesting because now it says prints appeared directly in front of the other, approximately 10 inches apart in ploughed soil near the lagoon. So I think these prints, I'm not going to say they're footprints, but they are prints. And I think I have notes about how big they are.
Yeah, as in footprints.
I'm not sure it was a footprint though.
Yeah, when I was talking to Shane, he was saying they're basically footprints because you could see them.
He did say that. But they may not be. They may be imprints of something else. We just don't really know.
Like feet of the craft, maybe. But
but they were described as shaped like a teardrop, pointed on one end and round at the other, about 3 to 4 inches long, and approximately 12 inches across at the widest point, and spaced at 12-inch intervals in that direct line. No one took any plaster casts at the time.
No, never thought to.
No claim was ever made that they were associated with the appearance of the nest, but they're really peculiar, aren't they? And they were obliterated after a few days by the many hundreds of people who literally invaded the Panisi farm, poor people. And so, the Panisi family was upset by that invasion and the ridicule they received because of it, that Albert vowed that if anything like that ever appeared again, that no one would ever hear about it. And that's the reason why the media were never informed of subsequent events. But now Claire Noble, who was a researcher who lived up there as well, now I know that Shane said he thought she was a bit fruit loopy. But I spoke to Claire many times, and she was just a really sensitive person. And she did claim that she'd had contact with Commander Ashtar, I think it was.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but she was, she collected all these reports and she would send them to us, and she collected 100 reports, at least 100 reports from that area. Now, the other interesting thing that was 3 years later, because a UFO monitoring device had been given to Albert, and it would, when something strange went over or it interfered with the electronics, a buzzer would be triggered and go off. So the instrument was located in the bedroom of Shane at the time, who was 9 years old. And on this particular morning, it went off, and he turned it off thinking he'd tell his father about it at breakfast. But Albert had already left for the day anyway, for some sort of business. And Shane forgot all about it until Albert came home, when Albert noticed that it had gone off. So Shane told him about it, and as soon as he did, Albert's back on the tractor and immediately back out to the lagoon, and then finds a 20-foot nest in diameter on the bank of the lagoon on the southern side. So he returned home and tried to contact Stan Sears, the president of our organisation at the time. Couldn't get through till the next day. Immediately, Stan jumped on a plane, arrived that night about 7:15, and Albert picked him up. From then on, Stan made tape-recorded notes that have been transcribed for our records. And on the 10th of February, they both left for the lagoon, and they found another nest of reeds, which were 29.5 feet in diameter, perfectly circular, and again with reed roots extracted from the floor of the lagoon, again floating on the surface in a noticeable clockwise distribution. Later, they found another nest which was 12 feet in diameter, which is the smaller one that you were showing before. So, yeah, all pretty interesting. They found a lot over the time. Yeah, a lot of them. And we were very lucky to that Albert accepted our invitation to come and speak at our 2006 conference, because it was our 50th anniversary. So we had Albert come, and we had Adamir Javad, who's sadly now passed on. We had Glenn Steckling from the Adamski Foundation, Timothy Good, and it was a great conference. And Albert told his story. I think he got a lot of satisfaction from actually speaking about it, although I think he said that, I better go and talk, I sort of owe them that, because they were really helpful. And Stan Sears had become a very good friend of the Panisi family too, and very supportive. So that was it basically. And last I heard, Shane probably told you, the farm was up for sale, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's not up for sale currently, but there are plans of it, because he's done. He's
done.
He's 60 odd years old now, so
yeah. He's younger than me.
yeah. He's had enough of farming there, and we're trying to work something out for him to try and help preserve this historical site. That reminds me too, which people, if you haven't done it already, please go and sign the petition there, or to go and try and save this site, this Horseshoe Lagoon, to be recognised as a historic moment in time in Australia's history, because it was a very historic moment, really, because it was notified worldwide of what happened on this location. And it really opened up the eyes of so many impressions or nests, or crop circles. I think crop circles are more a man-made thing these days, but call them nests as a genuine sort of thing. So a lot of people started witnessing or experiencing nests around the world, which then thanks to the Panisi farm, that became well known and a lot more recognised. And taken seriously.
Yeah, in '66 there was a nest or nests, I don't know how many, found at Bankstown in Sydney, I think too. We've got photos.
Yeah, I heard something about that. Yeah,
photos are on our Facebook page somewhere there in the annals of Facebook history. I've been running that page for 15 years, so it's in there somewhere.
Wow.
There's and there were some up at Conondale, up on the Sunshine Coast here. They were found in grass. Grass. There was one some years ago I saw somewhere in New South Wales that appeared. Just can't quite remember where. So and these are nests. These are not.
Yeah.
Not crop circle. Well, the one on the Sunshine Coast was more like a crop circle, but it was pretty good. Yeah.
Did you hear about the one in Cardwell last year? That was a pretty good one.
No.
That's a crop circle. It's very
interesting.
Crop
circle?
Oh, yeah. Hang on, I'll show you. I'll go bring it up for you.
I know you guys went to the Panisi farm and sort of filmed there and had a look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, we covered this year's Cardwell Festival there. I know you did a talk there as well. So unfortunately, I didn't get to sit through all of it. I got you just towards the end there. I'm like, bugger, I didn't get to see it all. If I can find where we're done here. So, I did a little video for it, so it's pretty
cool.
Anyway, here it is. Yeah, I'll throw the drone footage we got of it anyway. I'll get that going. Where are we? How do we get that up there and go that one there? I'll actually do this way. I'll nick that one off and then do it this way. It's a lot easier. Sorry for the hang up here, guys. I'm trying to find this. No, now I've lost it because it's on a different folder. Oh dear. No, the wrong one.
While you're doing that, I'll just comment on Matt's thing. A lot of strange things happened in '66. They certainly did.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of sightings and, I'm trying to, having said that, I can't remember one thing besides Westlaw and Tully.
It's like that, isn't it?
Oh, gosh, I've been awake since 4 this morning, so it's been a long day.
Oh, love it.
But there were a lot of things that happened then. Oh, there we go. Oh, there.
Yeah.
Now, was that...
hang on, that's a horrible one. Sorry. Hang on, I'll get the other one. all the way down here. Yeah. This one might be a bit better. That's the same one. No, that one. Oh, this one here.
Oh, yeah. Now, do you think that was made by someone there?
Oh, no, not at all. No, it was 100% made by someone. The
Yes.
community got together there and did a little bit of thing for the festival. So it's really well done.
That's funny. Yeah.
Oh, I think I've got the hang on, let's double check this. Is this my whole segment here? Hang on.
Oh, yes. Mothman was 1966. Thank you.
No, that's one. Yeah, here we go. I'm surprised you haven't seen it yet. We'll get this one up. I'm not sure if everyone's seen it yet, but where is it? Right down the bottom, that one there. So we'll get this one going for you. So it's a whole thing. Like it was pretty much set up to go and help advertise the Australian UFO Festival, basically. So I've posted up. It's actually got a lot of views, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
So I made it all dramatic, you know.
You have to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the coppers. What's that? Hey, look, they're coming.
It was actually really well done. They did a really good job with it. I'm probably going to do my spiel there, but anyway. But yeah, it's actually a really good job, and you know, you had to go make it a bit more dramatic and you know overdo it. But the funny thing is, like a lot of people actually believe it was a genuine
This
drop
is the
circle.
problem. This is the problem. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I even I put a big spiel, like same thing, like explaining what you know, did it like as if it was a proper report, and then I put down like a few paragraphs down, going sorry, but it was just a advertisement for the the Australian UFO Festival there, and you know the local police and authorities got involved with it, and then made a crop circle and blah blah blah. And people didn't read the actual whole thing. They just gone, nah, it's a UFO landing there, or nah, it's bullshit. It's like, of course it's bullshit. I've told you it's bullshit. But, people don't want to read things.
Yes. It's like the alien autopsy film. People still are going, it was real, after Philip Mantel's come out and said, no, it was a hoax.
No, that's right. And of course, one of the biggest complaints too was it was filmed on a potato because it's all pixelated. You can't see bugger all. It's just like classic, horrible camera footage that does nothing for it. But anyway, it was quite amusing to see people the way they're responding. But yeah, it's absolutely amazing going up there. So guys, if you get a chance to go up to the Australian UFO Festival next year, definitely go and check it out. It's going to be awesome there, and I'm helping out there as well. There was some of the planning and ideas and such like that. So definitely get involved with that a bit more for next year, which I will be back up for too. Are you going to come up this time at all, Sheryl? Or
I don't have any plans to actually go there in person because it's a bit of a hike.
It is. It is.
You got to
No, I get
fly
it.
up there and hire a car and drive for 2 hours to Cardwell. No, I'm happy to zoom in and give another presentation. I've been looking into UFO crashes, so that might be of interest.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough too. Like, because like it's an absolutely awesome event there. Like a lot of people coming in there. You get to meet and greet a lot of people there. A lot of interesting people like yourself. We had a few heavy hitters there last year or this year, sorry. Doing their bit of a spiel on the at the sea files there, which is absolutely awesome. But yeah, like I did have another question for you there before too, but now I've lost myself because we got into crop circles. I was in relation to the tiny nest. So basically, what are your thoughts on the video footage that they've claimed they captured there one night? Do you think that was taken, or what's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I believe that they took it to the post office and posted it down here, but it never made it. So I think that's true, because I remember some of our team, when I first got involved in this organisation, the people who'd been here before us, they said, yeah, they tried to, the Panisis had some footage and posted it off and it never arrived. So I think that's true. Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I forgot to mention was there was also a tree near the lagoon, and the tree was burnt. Some of the leaves were burnt, what was it? The tree was about 25 feet away from the 12-foot in diameter nest. It was standing about 15 feet above the ground level with a scorched area of leaves that were curled and crisp. And that was about 6 feet long and 2 feet in thickness, I suppose, of those leaves. But all the other leaves were green and healthy. So, and also samples of the reeds in the nests were sent to the University of Queensland down here in Brisbane for testing. They didn't find any signs of radiation at all. So
that's what I was too, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit where they expected it would, but there wasn't any.
Yeah, with the other sort of investigations, aren't people claiming that they're finding radiation in the soil samples or higher rates of radiation?
In crop circles, you're talking about here.
Yeah,
right?
if it's a genuine one.
I don't know if they're claiming higher levels of radiation. What they're finding is in the crop circles, what has been found are very, very small magnetic metal beads, I guess you could call it. I remember Nancy Talbot. She had been looking into that and had found that quite a few formations in the States with those sort of metallic metal beading in the crops. Also, obviously that they bend at the nodes, and they're not broken, that sort of thing. So there's a whole host of things that they find. There was something. It's been a while since I've looked at crop circles. I remember studying them a lot in the 90s because I was really, really interested in them. I was sort of like a moth to a flame because we had Colin Andrews come out to Australia for the first time when he hosted him, and then he came a second time. We also had a UK researcher come out here, Leonie Starr, and she gave a presentation as well. She put all these great slides of crop circles. And she had gotten into the dowsable effects of crop circles too. So she'd been working with someone called Richard, I've forgotten his name now, he's since passed on. And he was a very good, well-known UK dowser. And he'd been dowsing all the formations and found that there were energy lines that ran through the crops. And I believe Shane said that there was some sort of energy lines that went through their property.
Yeah, it's gone through the ley lines or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and these energy lines go through crop circles and sacred sites and all those things in the UK. So, maybe that's a reason why they show up in certain areas. I really don't know.
Yeah, because it makes me sort of wonder, like, why is that area there of point of interest there? Like, always other locations there, but this particular spot seems to have been a real point of interest for what, nearly 30 odd years?
Could it be in the water? Because we know that UFOs are, they've been reported siphoning water off rivers and lakes, and they take it out of water tanks. And we had a case here at Ipswich, which is about half an hour west of where I live, west of Brisbane. I'm on the on the very edge of Brisbane, on the western suburbs.
Yeah.
There was a case by a lady called Rita Hayden, who's no longer with us, and she was driving home in the early hours of the morning. I think it was very late at night, early hours, and she saw this light, and as she was driving through Ipswich, and she came to a red light. There was a car in front of her, and then she was there. And she turns around, and here's this silvery, I'm going to get to the water bit in a minute, but there's a silvery UFO alongside her car. And she said it was very smooth, very sleek, no rivets or joins. And she said, Sheryl, I could have put my hand out of the car and touched it, out of the window and touched it. It was that close.
Oh, wow.
And then the lights changed. The car in front of her took off. So she took off, and this UFO took off as well. And then as she's getting towards her house, at the top of her street, she sees the same UFO has now hovering over the garage of her neighbour's property. So she has to get into her yard. So she summons up the courage to drive in, get out of the car quickly, fumbled with the keys at the door, got inside. And then this UFO moves from the neighbour's garage over her property. Now, she happens to have a pool in the backyard. And the next day she found that there was about a foot of water missing out of the pool. That's where the whole water connection comes in.
Yeah.
But also the neighbour had a little dog that was yapping while this UFO was hovering over her yard for about an hour, her backyard. And she's on the phone to us telling us what's going on, giving a blow-by-blow description.
Wow.
Anyway, the little dog over the next month lost all its hair and died. And she had a big mango tree in the backyard, and it died off as well very quickly. So here's this, and then the UFO that particular night, early morning, it was hovering for an hour. It lit up the backyard like daylight, and then it moved off and hovered at a distance, stayed there for some time, and then it just took off and disappeared. That's a really good case. That's where, I didn't go, but the next day my husband went out and investigated the mango tree and saw the water missing out of the pool, big pool, and spoke to Rita. And Rita was an ex-WAF, the Women's Auxiliary Air Force.
Yep.
And she told her story quite a few times. She was on many interviews, and she spoke at one of our conferences. Actually, if people go to our YouTube channel, UFO Research Queensland, they'll find Albert Panisi, the recording of Albert Panisi speaking in our conference, and this lady, Rita Hayden, speaking in our conference, quite a few people from years ago talking about what they experienced. And she never changed a word of her story, never expanded on it. And she was very credible witness, and had these ground trace effects. And I guess that's evidence. Someone asked before, what do you consider evidence? That's hard evidence.
Absolutely. So I really like Mr. Vibrating's come in the comments there. He's talking about UOP radiation is mostly electromagnetic spectrum rather than radiological, I think. And then he's touched on a bit more of taking diffraction grading spectra from UAP. They produce a continuous spectrum, aka black body radiation, unlike the line spectra of plasmas and LEDs, etc. So that could be very well much what potentially killed the dog off. I don't know if we want to claim that as the dog's death or not, and the tree's death. Like, I'm guessing that's what they're going on.
Yep, could be. Yeah, very definitely.
which is very interesting because obviously, even with Damien Knott, like he's claimed that he's got some sort of forms of radiation burns, like obviously not the radiation that we sort of think of when it comes to uranium and such like that, but could be like electromagnetic radiation burns of some sort. Like in poor
Yeah.
guy's not very well, but yeah,
Yeah, from that blue light that came down and very
yeah,
close to him, and I think I'm not sure if it actually went on his shoulder or went down next to his
behind him, yeah.
Yeah, it was very close proximity.
Yeah. So yeah, look, there's a lot, and then of course over the last few years, people have been coming forward with their claims of getting some sort of radiation or sicknesses or some sort of illness of being close to these crafts. So it's like, what's going on with these sort of things that people are coming close, and like, why is it not being taken seriously?
Well, I think it is because I saw an interview. Gosh, I've seen so many things, I can't remember where I've seen them. But one of these officials was saying that 50% of the people who are working closely with crashed craft end up, they have a high mortality rate, put it like that. So, they get a lot of illness and then they die. So just because of close proximity to these craft.
Yeah. No, that's right. It's got Matt here asking like, how's Damien? Haven't heard from him in a while. I spoke to him last week there, and he's doing okay. He's doing okay.
Yeah.
He's managing basically. Yeah. So yeah, that's about all I can say. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Like it's like it's good that they're finally taking it seriously, but it's taken so long for them to go and actually take into account that these things are actually happening to people. But like it's sort of strange too. Like when people claim that they've been abducted in that, why aren't they really coming with some sort of illness effects or something like? I think Jane Pulley mentioned she had like some sort of blood alteration or something that was like the astronauts experience a lot of when it's like obviously coming in and out of space. I think that's what she's claimed that she's had. But a lot of other people haven't really come forward with anything like that, have they? Like or reported any sicknesses?
Not the blood changing, but certainly autoimmune diseases. And allergies and terrible nosebleeds, or a whole host of things like that. Yeah. There was a lady who was here. She's now moved to New Zealand. She was going out regularly to see these UFOs west of Brisbane up on a mountain, and then she developed multiple sclerosis, or she puts it down to her close proximity to those objects. There's a whole range of things that people can happen to people when they're too close to these objects. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking of that famous case of Stephen Michalak, who got very close to a UFO and actually got that hash-like burns. Where it was like a hash mark on his chest.
Checkered sort of.
Yes, and there's quite a few cases. There's also the two women. Gosh, I can't think of their names. Must be getting late, Anthony. Cash Landrum case over in the United States. They developed cancer and tried to get some sort of payout, and they couldn't.
No, so obviously there is things, but but could it be disproven as family history illnesses or something like it's not to try and say like this, their claims aren't true, but obviously going into a investigative sort of point of view, like would have family history be taken into account for these things there to go and say like, well, it's potentially from inheritance from family, as a family trait, basically.
Yeah, some sort of genetic disposition. Certainly could be that. But that's why the military cases are really interesting, because when people enter the military, they go through these medical examinations first. And so their health is documented. So after they've been working with these crash craft or some sort of exotic technology, they can develop illness. There's a point there where they can say, well, before I did this job, I was well. Since I've done this job, I'm not so well. And that's why those cases are really important.
Yeah, no, fair enough too. Like, I guess like the military government's going to try and deny anything they can, to try and they don't want to be held accountable for it, so they're going to deny. But
Yeah.
it's like what can you do? Like, there's not a lot you can really do. It's like in compensation wise, or trying to get any sort of truth to your claims out there, because like no one's really going to believe you that you're up against these crafts or whatever, or you've been dealing with these crafts. Like, so like, I feel sorry for them, like especially if what they're saying is true, because like you want any sort of help they can get. Like, they should be compensated, basically. I feel anyway. Like, especially people, in the higher regards in society. Like, you put commercial pilots are seeing objects. They can't come forward because of could cause difficulties to the career, or lose their mental accountability. Basically, it's horrible. So, like, what are your thoughts when it comes to that sort of thing? Like, are we going to get past this sort of social break in society where people can come forward there and not be deemed as a loony, especially like with the commercial pilots and such?
I hope so. That's really down the track, I think. It takes a long time for a civilization to change its mind. Look at poor Galileo.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, oh my God, he was a heretic. So it can take a very long time for us to change our mind. And then other times it can be very quick, So it just depends. But I think this is such a big issue, and it has so many consequences when, with people coming forward, that it's not an easy pill to swallow, and it's not going to change that quickly.
No, that's right. And so before we finish up there, because obviously it is getting late there, and you said you've been up since 4 o'clock this morning. So if anyone wants to get some quick questions out there before we finish up there, but what are your recommendations? Like, one of the comments here from Ray there says, "Don't tell anyone," or he doesn't tell anyone. But so, what would you suggest for people to, who are sort of hiding behind the wall there and don't want to come publicly forward with their experiences, their encounters and such? Like, what would you suggest for them to go and do?
Well, I know quite a few people like that at the moment, who want to tell their story, but don't want to come forward. Well, write a book under a pseudonym, or tell your story to a researcher that is willing to tell your story for you. Like, in that respect, we act as advocates for witnesses, don't we? So giving them a platform and giving them the opportunity to come forward or share their stories in a way that's where they feel safe. So select your researcher carefully, make sure they're of good stead and that you can trust them. That's really important for witnesses and experiences. But please do make sure that your story gets out, because like I said before, if we don't, then we're part of the cover-up too. At that grassroots level. So it's really important to share our experiences. Otherwise, we can't expect change if we don't want to part with the knowledge that is required for that change to take place.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I'll probably just suggest too, like, if you are going to tell your story, make sure you have your times, your dates and time frames, and like try and go through exactly how you felt, what you saw, what if there's any shapes or colors, anything on that sort of nature, like anything to help bring your story to life, basically, as like how you're seeing it. Because like, obviously, the more information you can provide to it helps with the credibility of people potentially believing you or your story as well. So the more detail, the better you can get into it, and it all helps. As I said, bring more credibility to especially the reality of what's happening in this world that we are still trying to figure out today.
Yeah. And before we go, I'd just like to give a plug to a new book that's out by one of the witnesses that I've been working with. It's called Redirected in 5 Seconds, and it tells the story of her driving on an outback road, and a green object came towards her, and as it went over, it pushed her vehicle to the opposite side of the road, and then so she comes back, and she had the nous to act, because she heard sprinkles on her vehicle.
I've talked to her. Yeah, I've spoken to her.
Yes. Yes, and she had the composure to and the common sense, which a lot of people don't have, of course, when that happens, but to get out of the pullover, get out of the vehicle and take samples of what went on her vehicle. And those samples went to a labs and the results came back and they're all in her book. So the book is called Redirected in 5 Seconds, and it's a good book.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah.
Available on Amazon.
Yeah, I spoke to her, and it's a very incredible encounter. Actually, it's a very interesting one. It's like, ooh, what's a very interesting. And I was wasn't allowed to go and post it up yet because I think she was talking to you at the time there, and I think you were helping her with a few things. That you're like, nope, hold off till we, do a few more things there. So I was like, damn you, you're holding me back.
I think she's just a bit nervous. That's all. Very
Yeah,
nervous.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's a lovely, lovely lady though, and I'll probably get in touch with her again there because you actually reminded that I've got her recording there, so I'm gonna see if she's ready for it to be released. So anyway, but yeah, look, I can't see any more questions coming through there, and obviously we'll leave it where it is at now. And look, thank you so much for joining me. It's been absolutely awesome listening about your history and your the organization and such, and like what you guys do, and like it's absolutely incredible what you do and what you still do, basically, because you've, like I said before, you've actually literally got a hotline there for people to go and report sightings, which is not really found anywhere these days. I think you're probably actually the only organisation that has a direct phone line.
I don't know. I don't know if the Sydney group has. I think you have to contact them by email.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But how's that go about that? Like, you say it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, you're fast asleep, and you get a phone call.
Oh no, answering machine is on. I'm sorry.
Oh, right. That's all right.
We give back to them. Yes.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Oh, you never know. It could have been one of those ones there, it's like just next to your house there, and like, oh, hey, it's right there. Go and get out of your bed and go and have a look.
No.
That's awesome.
Some sleep. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
No worries at all. Where can people find you, basically?
Well, they can find us on our Facebook page. Look up UFO Research Queensland. Go over there and give it a like and follow. And our website is uforq.org, O-R-G for organisation. And the phone number, which is a Brisbane number, it's 33761780. So, please contact us, and we look forward to. We do have a membership, by the way, and anyone who wants to become a member, you don't have to be in Brisbane. We have monthly online meetings, so they're held on Zoom, and we have a lot of overseas speakers, a few Australian ones. There's not a lot of Australian speakers around, but we've had a lot of international speakers, and so we do that once a month, and that's available for members, as well as our magazine called UFO Encounter. It's a bi-monthly digital magazine too.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. But yeah, look, I'll definitely look forward to having you back on at some point there, and dive a bit more down into the phenomena there. And yeah, absolutely, we'd love to have you back on at some point. So yeah, thanks again. It's been absolutely wonderful.
You're very welcome.
All right, thanks for that. I'll be in touch in a minute. Oh, guys, thank you so much for joining me. It's been absolutely awesome having you here, and the comments have been absolutely crazy. I'm sorry I couldn't get through them all there and read every single comment there, because someone was like all over the place, like, holy shit, I can't go through all this mid-interview. But I hope you enjoyed it, guys. It's absolutely awesome what Sheryl has done. And again, guys, thank you so much for coming and joining us here. It's been absolutely awesome. Don't forget, guys, you've got only about 3 hours, maybe, or wherever you are, maybe 4 hours left of the Black Friday sales there for this weekend. Get some awesome merch like this one here. It's an absolute awesome ripper of a shirt, nice and comfy. Got some 3D magnets there as well. So now's your chance to get in there for 35% off through our online store, which is running out of time. So quickly get on that. If not, if you don't get time, we are doing free shipping throughout all of December, and you get a free bumper sticker as well. So get onto that, guys. So while the opportunity's there. It's going to nearly Christmas there, so it's a good time to go and get yourself a cheeky little present there, or for a friend and family. Otherwise, guys, don't forget to go and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. There, put a like on this bad boy and share it out with your friends and family. We do have a Facebook page there to go and join in the Facebook page, which try and keep updated with what the show's doing and what's going on and whereabouts and that. Also keeps an eye out for when we are going to go live next. Obviously, we'll be having one just before Christmas there to go and finish up with. I plan to anyway, so it'll be a Christmas special. And otherwise, yeah, guys, thank you very much for joining me. It's I'll put a link up too to go and see if you guys can sign that petition for me for the Tully Nest there to go and make sure that it is try and keep that as a historic site in Australia. So if you guys can help support that motion there, that'd be great. Otherwise, yeah, thank you very much for joining me again, guys, and I'll see you next time on the next Encounters Down Under Live. So all the best, guys, and till next time, enjoy.